Let's get back onto the serious issues now and catch up with Dave Sharma, the Liberal Senator for New South Wales and Australia's former ambassador to Israel. Thanks for joining us, Dave. I've spoken to you many times about Islamist extremism, but when we see what's happening in Columbia University in New York City, it's very, very chilling indeed, because we have similar movements here. And also when we see the way the New South Wales police and authorities are trying to track down and arrest people involved in those violent riots in Sydney last week, good on them, they should be doing that, but it just highlights how impotent they were against hate speech and chanting mobs last year.
I couldn't agree more, Chris. I mean, I think it's right that the police go with the full force of the law after these people that, you know, caused an affray and disrupted police from doing their work after that terrible incident at the church last week. But where were they showing the same level of determination and vigilance after any number of incidents we've seen over the past 6 months, whether it was the Opera House protests on October the 9th, whether it's some of the extremist speech that's come from our preachers, whether it's been these motorcades that have been sent into Jewish communities to harass and intimidate them. Where are the police prioritising social cohesion and community harmony in those instances compared to how they've acted over the last 2 weeks? I think it's a study in contrast, and it demands some sort of explanation.
It sure does. I know that the Prime Minister is concerned about the rise of anti-Semitism. I know that directly. He's communicated that with me. But what have they done? I haven't seen any action.
Look, I think if you're concerned about the rise in anti-Semitism, then you need to take steps to tackle it and address it, and make clear it's unacceptable, not only through your own statements and moral condemnation, but through the actions of your law enforcement officials, through the implementation and use of your laws and your legal framework and the courts and the judiciary and everything else. Because the longer this has gone on for, the more this sort of conduct has become normalised, the more it seems to be acceptable or just par for the course that we have to live with this. And it's not right. We shouldn't be just living with this. We shouldn't accept this sort of conduct as normal. We shouldn't accept the demonisation of any community, never mind a minority community, as normal or acceptable. But that's the attitude that seems to have been taken throughout this last 6 months.
All right, let's get your take on the big picture threat to global security at the moment. We all held our breath when those Iranian drones attacked Israel. Israel was able to protect itself. Obviously, it hit back. It hit some military targets. Now, we've been very concerned about what the next step would be, but the fact that Iran is playing down the damage done and to its installations, playing down the attacks from Israel, is that a good sign? Does that show that Iran is now looking to de-escalate?
Look, I think, firstly, the size and nature of Israel's response, which was quite intentionally dialed down. It was intended to send a message but not cause much damage. It was intended to showcase the capabilities they've got and send a warning to Iran, but not to provoke a response. That was a responsible way for Israel to behave. I think Iran is looking for an off-ramp, but we just need to remember what they did here last Saturday. I mean, they launched 300 missiles, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles and drones at another sovereign state. This is a bigger opening salvo than what Russia launched against Ukraine in February 2022 when it invaded. This is a huge act of aggression by any measure. And it's one state acting directly against another. I mean, it's an act of war. There's no other way to describe it. Now, I think Israel has done the responsible thing in seeking to de-escalate it, but Iran has really transgressed a whole number of international norms, red lines, or whatever you like to call them here. And I worry now that, you know, they've done this once. Well, what's going to stop them from doing it again? Perhaps against Saudi Arabia, perhaps against the UAE, perhaps against any number of other states in the region, because this is a country that is built on using its weapon system, but also armed proxies and terrorist groups to intimidate and coerce the rest of the region. And this is the biggest threat to regional stability and peace in the region right now, in my opinion.